6 rounds of the F1 season are now in the books, and of course last time out in Miami, Lando Norris did get his very first F1 win, which means that McLaren fans can now finally get some sleep and don't have to be up all night crying every time he finishes in second place thinking back to Russia 2021. And not gonna lie, I'd like to say I saw this one coming. However, I can't say that because I put him 5th last time, really wasn't expecting that result. But this time out in Imola, I'm hoping to do a little bit better, as we get into my predictions as well as Enzo the Dog's, for the 2024 EMILIA Romagna Grand Prix. Now first up we have my qualifying GOAT, and for this one who I think is going to do really well in qualifying is going to be Max Verstappen. Now I know it's easy to say Max is going to do well, that's pretty much a given, but I feel like after losing completely legitimately last time out, for the first time in quite a while, he's really going to want to put on a performance, and that begins in qualifying. I'm talking 3, 4, maybe even 5 tenths clear. Someone clip this for when it all goes wrong. But I put Max in for my qualifying GOAT, I feel like he's just going to bounce back like he always does. Then we go to qualifying fail, and I've gone with Lewis Hamilton. The reason being his qualifying this year hasn't quite been up to the same as George Russell, he's generally been a bit behind. Then you couple that with the fact that lots of teams are bringing upgrades, and I feel like Mercedes, the way that they've struggled over the past few years, may take them a bit of time to get a handle on them, and so in qualifying I feel like that could hamper him. Plus this year we've already seen a couple of Q1 exits from Lewis, it's not completely out of the blue. Next up we get into my sneaky good, and that's someone who's done reasonably well during the race but not insanely good to be driver of the day. And for this one I've gone with Esteban Ocon. He had a really good race last time out and picked up a point in Miami, and I feel like he'll just continue that momentum forward. Alpine obviously started the year with tractors and now they've got slightly quicker tractors, but they are generally improving throughout the year as it goes on, and so I feel like Ocon's someone who could carry that momentum forward. Next up we go to my sneaky bad, and the person I've got in here is Sergio Perez. What I think we're starting to see is as the grid does close in that gap to Red Bull, we're seeing Sergio slip down the pack a little bit. Instead of a second place where you'd expect him to be, it's sort of 4th, 5th, maybe even 6th in there, because those other teams and drivers are closing up to Max and Red Bull at the top. And so for someone who I think is just going to do a little bit below what you might expect, I've gone with Sergio. Next up, my driver of the day, who I think is going to be the best driver of the Sunday, and that is Oscar Piastri. He had a really great race last time out in Miami. In fact, was looking so good that it very easily could have been him as that lead McLaren at the front of the race, and potentially him taking home the win instead of Lando. However, that's not how things turned out, and he had some contact with Sainz, and that put him to the back of the pack. But before that, he did incredibly well. Plus, didn't have all the upgrades that Lando had and was still performing. So I feel like now in Imola, he should have all those upgrades, and he should have a great Sunday. Next up for the fail of the day, and I've gone with what I can only say is probably a pretty safe bet here, it's Lance Stroll. Since the opening round, things have looked pretty bad for him and just generally got worse and worse. Plus, I think if you look at Aston Martin and their progress, they look like they're heading backwards just a little bit, and so I feel like if that car's a bit slower, he's back in the midfield a bit more towards the back of the pack, incidents are more common, you make a mistake and you lose places, qualifying's not his strong suit, Imola's not the easiest to overtake, and I feel like that all just culminates in him not having the best race on Sunday. Then we get into my podium, and now in 3rd place, I've gone with Lando Norris. He got the win last time out, but I feel like giving him 2 in a row is probably a bit much. 2nd place as well, I feel like potentially he could get, but I put him in 3rd for now. Then in 2nd place we have Charles Leclerc. It was 3rd time out on the podium and the pace looks generally good. Upgrades for Ferrari. I feel like he could be pushing for this position. Then in 1st place, I've obviously got Max Verstappen. I feel like if he's lost one race, he's going to bounce back. I mentioned it before already with him in qualifying, and I feel like the race will just continue that trend. So getting into Enzo's predictions then, let's see how he's done for last time out in Miami. As you can see, an extremely close one here, just 2 points separating us. However, I did come out just ahead, 21 points to 19 for Miami. If you don't know how it works, it's 3 points for a correct prediction, 2 points for one space away, and 1 point if you're 2 places out. This does mean that on the season it is now 4-2 as I'm stretching that lead. However, it must be said those last 2 rounds have only been by 2 points, so it is really close. Getting into Imola though, we start with the bottom 10, beginning with Alex Albon in 20th place. Then he's put Lance Stroll in P19, things not going well for Lance even in the dog world. Kevin Magnussen in 18th, and George Russell down in 17th. Logan Sargent is 16th, Valtteri Bottas is 15th, with Pierre Gasly ahead of them both in P14. Daniel Ricciardo is 13th with Zhou Guanyu in 12th, and Nico Hülkenberg just missing out on the points to round out that bottom half. Then we get into the top 10, and it seems that Enzo has made his selection, and despite knocking Esteban Ocon's bag all the way underneath the chair and the desk at the end, he's determined to be putting the Frenchman in his 10th place. To be fair, if I was Alpine, I think they'd very much take that, but once he does finally get hold of Esteban Ocon's bag, he does put him number 31 in the Alpine in P10 for Imola. P9 is Enzo's next choice to make, and it seems like he doesn't really have great expectations for Mercedes, as it's Lewis Hamilton he's putting in P9 as the lead Mercedes driver. Next up into P8, and it looks like he's headed for that left-hand side, and it's going to be Yuki Tsunoda here. P8 is not unrealistic for Yuki, he's had a couple of P7s and has been the clear best driver in the back half of the grid. Then we get on to P7, and for the first time this year, Enzo has decided to put Fernando Alonso inside the top 10. Usually he's down in 15th, 16th, 17th place, but this time he's in 7th. And finally, just missing out on the top 5, it's going to be the first of the McLarens, as Enzo's gone with Oscar Piastri in 6th place. Top 5 now, and in 5th place, Enzo's going to go for one of the Red Bulls, and it looks like he's going to be picking up Sergio Perez, after considering Carlos Sainz for this spot. It seems like that whole grid closing up is something that Enzo definitely understands, and the fact that Sergio Perez is down here in 5th really shows that. Then in P4, it looks like Enzo's going for the other McLaren, as he's going to go and select Lando Norris to finish in 4th place. Again, coming off the win, I feel like 2 in the row is probably unlikely, and Enzo agrees. 4th place though, I could see Norris in this position. Then we get to Enzo's podium, and it's just 2 Ferraris and Max Verstappen remaining. Looks like it's going to be one of the Ferraris, and it seems like he's going to go for Carlos Sainz to slot in into that 3rd place. Honestly, it could be either one of the 2 Ferraris that take 2nd or 3rd place if it's both of them. They're both driving very well, they're both extremely talented drivers, and to be honest, either way round I think would be realistic. Then we get into the top 2, and it's Max Verstappen and Charles Leclerc, and the question comes down to, does Enzo think Verstappen is not going to win 2 races in a row? The question is no, he's gone with Charles Leclerc in 2nd place. Funnily enough, exactly where I put Leclerc, and so we end up having the same top 2. Which of course leaves just one person left to be selected, as Enzo's going to put Max Verstappen in 1st place, as he predicts a P1 finish for the Dutchman in Imola. So anyway, there you have Enzo's predictions. His are on the left, mine are on the right, and let me know your thoughts down in the comments and where you would predict everyone to finish as well. But anyways, that's all for now. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you have enjoyed the video, and if you have, make sure to give it a thumbs up. Get yourself subscribed to the channel for more content this year, and until next time, take care.